Howdy peeps, hope you're doing well. So it's been a while since I've done a video. I think the last couple that I did was sort of talking about like autism and stuff like that. Just other little things that I suppose in some ways kind of get to me. Just what people get to me, you know. The things they do to the behaviours in order to wind me up. Yeah, so the other one was my previous video, revisited autism and people. Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't quite. I suppose it's one of those situations where if you've never been in it, it's hard to get a grasp of where I'm coming from, at least. And although a lot of people may sort of comprehend or understand the fundamentals of autism, that's one thing. Living with someone with it is a total different thing. Like, it really is. But anyway, I wasn't going to talk about that in this particular video. I was going to talk a bit more about relationships and that sort of a thing, since that is the kind of the way the channel has been. And I was sort of giving things on that thought. And it's like, I suppose when for those of you that know me, those of my viewers that actually know me, by comparison to those that don't, you know, I suppose I might come across as quite coarse a lot of the time. Yeah, I am, and also not really. You know, if you're taking what I say in videos as being like the hardest stance that I take, and then that is it sort of thing, like, you know, you got to understand a lot of it when I do the videos. You know, things change from when I say I have one particular viewpoint, and then something might happen a week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever, a year later, which will get me to rethink what I'd thought, or what my point of view was. And the one thing that's been coming quite a lot in my YouTube feed has been other content creators saying why men are opting out of dating. Well, for starters, for me at least, it's not that I necessarily opt out of dating. It's just that, you know, when, and it's not even to do with the confidence thing. Not with me, right? But obviously, women want what they want, right? So if they want someone that's 6 foot with a 6-pack and they earn 6 figures and they've got a luxury yacht and all of that, you know, well, for starters, I can't compete with that, and nor would I want to compete with that, because it just shows me that they're just purely materialistic, you know, whether it's visually materialistic, you know, in terms of what the guy that they like owns, or whether it's materialistic in the sense of, well, they have to be 6 foot, they have to have a 6-pack and, well, 6 figures, you know. Those are things that I cannot accommodate for, because I'm not 6 foot and I never will be, you know. I don't earn 6 figures and probably never will. And, well, my 6-pack is a party barrel, so you're fresh out of luck on that one as well. So in that sense, for the ladies that are after that, I'm not even on their radar. I'm literally invisible, as they say. And it's quite good in a way, because it means that I won't be having to put up with any of their drama or their bullshit. Why is it when you light it, you refill a lighter and then it refuses to light? Is this... It lit a minute ago. It's not lighting now. Alright, well, I'm not having that then, apparently. It's just brand new. It's some clever... It stinks of it. What the fuck? Right, so I'll proceed to set fire to myself in the video, just for having a good sense of humour, you know. But this is just it. And now with women, since they have the choice of, you know, who they date, and you know, they get to pick and choose. You know what I've done? I'll tell you exactly what I've done. I've picked the wrong fucking lighter out. That's what I've done. See the one that works, right? Just for there. What's this? There you go. It's gonna be one of them days, is it? Right? Okay. Yes. Well, there we go. So when it comes to like I say, dating, most of the time, even me, I'm as far as I'm concerned, I'm not even on their radar. You know, I'm invisible. And again, I'm not saying they're not allowed to not want or like what they want or like. Of course they are. But a lot of time, what tends to happen is when they get what it is that they want or like, and they no longer want it, you know, and then obviously we all get tarnished with, you know, because again, this is that thing of a lot of them will repeatedly go for the same type of guy. I'm talking about the women, whether they're the Chads, the Tyrones, Pookie and Ray Ray or whatever, you know. Typically they're sort of bad boys, as it were, and they've got no interest in long-term commitment. So, and again, by that point, they've got the women have got this thing in their head that is what they want. And look, that's fine, but at the same, you know, it's like, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results, right? And so I suppose with that, it doesn't, with sort of giving that example, it doesn't really give an idea as to my thoughts on relationships. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I've always said it. I'm not a strict NGTOW. I never have been. Some would argue for purple pill because, you know, I've had the experiences of being red pilled, and also having lived in a blue pill world. Whereas if you just think, oh, if you just do something different, if you just keep trying, yada yada. And the truth is, doing things differently and just keep trying, you know, you do have to ask yourself at which point you draw the line and just think, you know what, fuck it, this ain't working. You know, and that's where a lot of guys get to. You know, when they see the state of a lot of women out there. I mean, the internet has been the best and worst thing, I think, for people in general, not just women. I mean, it's good. There's a lot of helpful stuff out there on the internet in terms of, you know, videos and, you know, how-tos and how stuff works and all of that. But at the same, it's also why I haven't got a large following. I'll tell you why. It's because I haven't got long blonde hair and a big pair of mammaries. That's why. Otherwise, you know, and low cut tops. Otherwise, I'd have loads of subscribers. Mind you, then again, I probably wouldn't be talking about the same stuff that I'm talking about. I'll be telling you all how shit men are. You know, and how I can't find a decent man. It's ironic, it is. It's ironic. And also moronic. But yeah, and so, you know, where does that sort of leave me in terms of relationship? Some would argue that it kind of, you know, when you get red pilled on the state of reality of dating, you know, if you haven't been in a dating game for a long time, for whatever reason, maybe you're in a long-term relationship, or maybe you were having a break after being in a long-term relationship, and then you go out there into the world now and you see what's what, and you get yourself red pilled on the amount of women out there that will quite happily just use guys for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then they'll only go off with one of them. Or there are those that will go off with all of them. Obviously I'm talking about bedtime activities and everything. And look, to a degree you could argue, oh well, what they're doing is none of anyone else's business, and it's like, yeah, but it kind of is, you know. And that's the sort of thing that sort of bugs me with people these days, is just, you know, people seem, honesty seems to be a rare thing these days. It's like you ask someone a question, and you know, if it's a topic that they don't want to talk about, the way they dance around answering it, it's like, wow. Just give the answer, because you know, if you lie now and the truth comes out later, you end up, you know, looking like, yeah, well, it just reveals what you're really about, really, you know, whether it's through personal shame that you did a particular thing or whatever. You know, there's no point bullshitting about it. But at the same time, what we do tend to get is a lot of women bragging about the amount of guys that they've, their body count, as it were. You know, trying to be one of the lads, look how much pipe I've had laid into me, sort of thing. And it's sort of like, yeah, you actually think we want to hear this? It's like, no, we don't. We'd rather you didn't. I mean, for me at least, you know, maybe back in my 20s I would have viewed it differently, because I was younger and less mature and knew less about the world and less about people. So even I would have been like, yeah, go and do whatever you want, and, you know, get your empowerment. But again, it's short-term gratification with no, you know, no view in sight of what effect it's going to have on you in the long term. And it does affect guys differently, you know. Whereas when a lot of women want to get with one particular guy, that makes the guy high value, you know, in the eyes of women. But when the shoe is on the other foot, and the way guys see it, it's like, oh, well, she's easy, you know. So, and not easy as in not a challenge, just as in, well, if you want to go with that, you can go with that, and it won't say no, or she won't say no, you know. But then there's the other part of all of that as well, you know, when it comes down to women playing hard to get. Again, you know, personally what I look for is a woman that is easygoing, easy to get along with, likes to have a laugh, you know, and is just generally fun to be around. That is literally all that I kind of ask for when it comes, you know, when it comes to the sort of basic requirements. And obviously there has to be honesty and all of that, you know. Honesty, loyalty, respect, man. Without that, you haven't even got the basic foundations of a relationship in the first place. But for some reason, there seems to be a real lack of that. Now, some guys would, or even like sort of dating coaches, would be like, oh, well, if they don't respect you, then, you know, you shouldn't be trying with them, as it were. And it's like, no, it's not even a case of that. It's a case of there's so many women out there that are disrespectful towards men. And, you know, as I said previously, they blame the rest of men for the bad choices that they had made with Chad and Tyrone, Pookie and Ray, whatever, right? So we all get tarnished with the same brush. And of course, if you're not meeting the requirements, 6 foot, 6 figures, blah, 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 you're invisible anyway, you know. And then when it does come down to relationships like that, you're relying on a couple of things. One is your social group. You know, if there's anyone single within the social group that you're attracted to, and maybe they're attracted to you, then maybe that would work. But as far as, like I said before, dating online is concerned, it's just a no-no, man. It's just a shit show. Again, because women's expectations, because it's the internet and it's not real and it's make-believe, everyone's standards go through the roof, you know. And of course with that there's double standards, you know. But I'm not going to go into that one right about now. And I suppose the other sort of misinterpretation that people might get from the videos that I do, the content, is that I'm against relationships. No, not at all. I'm against relationships with the wrong people, where you're likely to be manipulated emotionally, mentally, and all of that. You know, I'm against that sort of, I'm against staying in long-term relationships with people that treat you like that. Because of the, you know, the psychological damage it does to you down the road. I mean, yeah, you know, once you get away, you come out of it and you recover, and you know that in itself, depending what you go through, can take quite a long process. But then you've got this issue of trust again, And trusting people is hard to do in the first place, because it seems that there's a lot of women out there that will just quite happily use guys. You know, they've got no real thought of or consideration for how it might affect the guy later on. Whether they were deliberately leading them on because they could gain something out of it, or whether they're, or not, whether they're just doing it for the sake of it, the sake of validation. Like a lot of the dating apps where they don't even want a relationship, but they'll quite happily go on there and waste your and everyone else's time for the sake of making themselves feel better, And again, even then with that comes the issue, on the off chance that, you were to meet up with someone like that and get along, if they're actually that insecure about themselves, do you think there's a real guarantee that that relationship is going to work out? If they're constantly needing validation from others, I don't think it's going to be a good one for you, But that's just me. So it's not that I'm anti relationships at all, no, not by a long shot. I think they are a great thing to have if you can get a good one these days. That's what I've said before. If you've got someone in your life that you actually really respect, value, and actually love, not just use the word because, that's what honey wants you to say to her, or vice versa, right? But two people that actually have a mutual fucking love for one another, don't fucking let them go, because that's someone worth having, especially when they're not lying and manipulating to you. You know what I mean? If they're doing that, then there's no point in staying. But if you're good, then you're good. It's like, I mean, the sort of main principles that I tend to go with as far as MGTOW is concerned, from my red pill perspective, I'd want to know the individual for a long time before I made a commitment, like moving in again, because this is one of the things that I've done several times. It's like, everything moves too quickly, you get involved too fast, you move in together too quick without really knowing each other, and then before you know it, you realise that you're not as compatible as you initially thought. Or in a worst case scenario, you realise that the person that you were dating in the beginning isn't the same person you've moved in with, And of course, by that point, it's a little bit late, especially if they've been trying to egg you on into marrying them, getting some form of long-term official commitment, whereas you have the potential for losing financials in the process. And again, it's not even necessarily whether it's you lose half of what you earn. It's like when you get divorced, you need lawyers. They cost money. They like to drag it out. They like to earn money, And then they'll try and, in some cases, egg both parties on as to, oh yeah, you're entitled to this, and you can take that, and you can do the other, and blah blah. And they love winding all that shit up because they don't give a fuck about you and the person that you might have once loved and cared for a great deal. They'll do their best to turn all that shit against you, between you two, for their own financial gain, and they've got nothing to do with you two in the first place. And then, just a vicious circle. So that's my sort of stance on marriage. It's like, well, you have to be, and again, it's like, not that I'd say people should stay in abusive relationships. They shouldn't, absolutely not. At the same time, you want to know someone well enough before you marry them to know what they're actually like. There's no point in years later, after you've been married for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, when you knew that they were manipulative and abusive from the first place, is then complaining about it, because it's like you knew what they were like all along. You knew that. So the onus is on you. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. It's not that I'm against relationships. I'm not. And personally, if the opportunity came along for me to be in a relationship, I'd probably take it. See how it goes. But when it comes to the sort of more long-term commitment, for me, I want to know the person better. I want to know that if they're saying that they're going to be there for me, that they're actually going to be there for me, rather than it just being a bit of lip service to get me entwined because they might be able to get something out of it later on. Well, anyway, enough waffling, as they say. So thank you all for watching. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to drop them down. Till the next one, stay cool, stay free. Peace out.